So imagine diligently paying your monthly contributions to an insurance provider, and at the moment when you need it most, they reject your claim. For too many South Africans, this is their reality. Many consumers have fallen victim to fine print concealing unexpected costs and risks that put them under financial strain. Are financial service providers fleecing customers, or is the problem consumers who do not read the terms and conditions of their agreements? I suspect there's a little bit of everything there. My guests tonight are Financial Sector Conduct Authority Investment Providers Manager Norma Africa Sandlaka with me here in the studio, and financial consumer journalist Maya Fisher-French, who joins us live from the Cape Town studio. Very warm welcome to both of you. Let me start off with you, Norma Africa. Talk us through how big this problem is and why it's going so horribly wrong.
All right. Thanks, Jenny, for having me here. Maybe I should start and give a bit of background on the FSCA. What is it that we do? We are a conduct regulator that aims to protect consumers of financial products as well as maintain and enhance the integrity of financial markets. And what we're doing, and when I say that we're protecting consumers against undesirable acts by the financial institutions that we regulate. And we do have such issues, like you mentioned, that at claim stage things become a problem. Hence, there's an introduction of treating customer fairly principles. There is a problem in that space. One, it's because consumers do not read. And the second note is that the financial institutions do not explain the terms and conditions. It's not clear. I'm sure you've seen when you want to buy a motor vehicle insurance, it's that easy. It's through a phone call, and the details are not provided through these phone calls. And sometimes there's a gap in terms of the advisors that they use in terms of the knowledge of the products. They do not disclose all the necessary information, which include exclusions, for example. And these are the things that are required in terms of the law that financial institutions and financial advisors must present to consumers of the financial products.
Okay, Maya, what is your experience of the victims, and how come so many fall foul of the rules and the regulations? Is it the small print? Is it because we should go home with these reams of paper and work our way through it when most of us have no idea what it actually means?
I think...
Oh, sorry, that's for Maya.
I think the reams of paper is exactly the problem.
Go ahead, Maya.
You've got basically the consumer is faced with... Hello? So it's basically faced with so much paperwork and all the terms and conditions that it's actually often very overwhelming for them to understand what those terms and conditions are. And I think I completely agree with the guest, is that it's really often part of the financial advisor's role to highlight the important clauses and those that the consumer needs to be taking cognizance of. And
why does the advisor not bring that up? Might they sell themselves short of making more money? Might that spook off the potential purchaser?
I think it's also a rush job. Often it does depend, of course, on what product we're talking about. You know, we talked about car insurance, and that's often maybe something they want to, it's in the dealership, they want to quickly sell it, it's part of the deal. They don't really spend time going through it. Where you may find something like life cover, where a large sum is insured, the financial advisor may take more time to explain it. So I think it sometimes does tend to be product specific. But I think, to be honest, there are also times when it's in the advisor's interest not to to disclose too much. And that's often around the exclusions. So, they don't want to ask the consumer too many questions, because if the consumer declares something that may perhaps make the policy, not be able to provide the policy to them, then they lose the sale. So I think there's a lot of factors involved in those situations.
Norma Africa, go for it.
Yeah, and like the lady in Cape Town is saying, it is very much concerning that people are chasing numbers, they're chasing sales, and they're not doing a proper job in terms of analyzing the needs of the client, the needs, what the client needs and what suitable product is suitable for the client. That process, there's a gap there. That's something that we've identified. And like she says, that exclusions, the most important things, it is a requirement in terms of law that they must be disclosed to the client, and that is not happening. There's a gap in terms of disclosures, as well as the analysis and the suitability of the advice that's being given to the client.
Okay, so what should the client do? I mean, how do you make sure you get that information, and how should the client behave? What should they tell them?
A client must ask all the questions. What is important when you're buying a financial product, you must understand exactly what you're getting yourself into. If it's an insurance, they must tell you the features, what is covered, what is not covered, what is the premium, what will happen should I miss my premium, what is it that you'd consider at claim stage, and these are the things that needs to be disclosed to the client, and the client needs to have an understanding. If a client walks away from an advisor not understanding fully the product, then there's a serious problem there. Because you must buy something that you understand. And it must deliver at the claim stage, whatever that you have bought, it must exactly deliver what you had expected. Yes.
And Maya, I mean, obviously, clarity is needed because the impact for many people, it's their lives.
Absolutely, and I think one of the things I would also recommend is that you get a record of advice. So all financial advisors are required to do a record of advice, and actually ask for a copy of that and keep that. Because what I actually find quite often, Jane, is that customers forget afterwards what they've bought, or there's a lot of misunderstanding. They sometimes write to me and they think, I think I have this, but it turns out to be a completely different product. And that's not necessarily the financial advisor's fault. People forget, they're not really listening, they're too excited about the new car, or it's perhaps a grudge purchase on insurance, so they don't ask too many questions. So I think keeping a record of advice and actually being able to refer to that afterwards is quite important as well.
Okay. Norma Africa, I mean, how do companies behave legally and ethically? Because when we saw recently the way Momentum behaved when they didn't want to pay out somebody who'd been shot because he hadn't disclosed a health issue. I mean, how do they weigh that up?
I think it's a combination of two things. One, that you need to act within a regulatory ambit, which governs the operations of the FSP, as well as the morality of the thing. If you look at that Momentum case, though the case, the person did not die of the illness that he did not disclose. The question is, do you really repudiate a claim based on that? On the fact that this person did not disclose yet they died of a gunshot. This is a discussion that I think, as well as the regulators, it's something that we need to look into, because more often claims are, especially in the life space, you find that claims are repudiated in the sense that somebody failed to disclose a minor thing, and all this time this person has been paying. And again, the consumers, they need to understand when they sign up for life policy or any product for that matter, they need to be honest about their conditions, about every aspect of their lives, or the information that's relevant to the product that they are buying. And just to add on what the lady said on the record of advice, a record of advice, it is required in terms of the law that whenever you sit with your financial advisor, they must record your discussion, and a copy must be sent to the consumer to check if it's accurate, it reflects the discussions that you had.
Oh, that's
Yes.
a good bit of advice.
Yes.
I'll get the words out. Norma Africa and Maya, thank you very much for that. That's our show for tonight. Checkpoint is up next. I'll be back at 9 o'clock with a live update from Rustenburg, where 1,800 miners have been stuck underground since lunchtime.